The city park is, I'm hugely proud of it. Delighted to have worked on it. It's shaped my career, but more importantly, I hope it's shaped the city of Bradford for positive reasons. What I wanted to talk today was probably the practicalities of delivering a physical place, and to take you through the journey of how the city park evolved, how it moved from a vision, share with you some of the sort of the challenges that we had as a design team, working with Gillespie's landscape architect, the Fountains Workshop who did the design, working with a really progressive council in Bradford Council. How we sort of brought that together to deliver what I think is a really positive space. So my involvement started in 2006. I joined the team when the project was going through the planning phase, and from there I developed the engineering design, followed it onto site, was on site through the construction period, and I've seen it, sort of saw it through to completion. And I think it's what I wanted to do was sort of highlight the real sort of what I see are the real positives, and it won't be about the drainage. It will be about the sort of physical outcome. So this image was taken with a schools event. That's me in the high-vis jacket at the bottom of the photo. But it's good to remember what Bradford was like, or what the centre of Bradford was like before we started. So it was quite a harsh environment. There was a major bus lane running through the heart of the centre outside City Hall. You have the Magistrates' Court, police headquarters, some nice informal green spaces, but it wasn't much of a heart of the city. And before I got involved in 2003, Bradford recognised that they needed to deliver change on a large scale, and they commissioned, through Bradford Centre Regeneration, they commissioned all sub-architects to develop a master plan. And this master plan was quite bold, was very bold, was very visionary, really stretching. It really threw ideas out there, but underpinning the master plan was a need to reveal Bradford as a sort of an incomer an immigrant to Bradford. I always felt that once you looked above ground floor, Bradford was fantastic, but nobody really saw. There was a huge amount of beauty that was quite hidden. So the master plan was about revealing that, reshaping the city, improving the zones that weren't working really well, and tackling the urban design and really trying to improve and provide a vision for Bradford in the future. And what that looked like was very radical. This is from the original master plan, and you can see the City Hall sitting just in the background of the photograph, and wrapped in a huge lake, and with a large swathe of development to the south of the city. And it promoted a lot of response, positive and negative. On the positive, it really put Bradford on the map internationally. It was exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. So it sort of raised the game in Bradford. What I quite like about the master plan is that it is so radical it almost has a chance of being delivered. It was so different to what was there before that you thought, actually, you could deliver part of this. And so it was that it gained traction. The idea, the kernel, the seed of the master plan took hold, and the council got behind it as an idea, galvanised sort of an investment, and the project was taken forward, and the city park, which was the sort of central element, became the sort of the first of these projects to come forward. And it was hugely important that what we delivered was of really high quality. We had, part of the brief was to make sure that we delivered a world-class place, but also a place for people, a place for people to greet, meet, relax, play, enjoy, none of which was really happening in the centre at the time. And the opinion of the city centre was quite poor. It wasn't really a place that people felt comfortable in, quite aggressive. So we set about trying to take this vision and the concepts, which were very strong, the idea of reintroducing water, which was such a huge part of Bradford's industrial heritage, but had been covered over in terms of Bradford Beck being culverted in the 60s. People had lost the connection with water, and water is such a huge. It has a huge part of our psyche, both from religious, personal. People like to be near water. So we then had to take that sort of idea, and it had, as I said, a lot of challenges. You can see the extent of the lake was large. It required the removal of the magistrates' court, the police headquarters, reworking the entire Bradford highway network, because Bradford's unusual in that the the outer ring road actually comes all the way into the centre at this point. Not to talk about the utilities that cross through the site. So in order to deliver the master plan, it was going to take a huge amount of effort, and it wasn't really feasible in the time frame. So we had to look at how we broke that problem down, but yet still stayed true to the architectural vision. So the design started to evolve, and these are just a few sketches of that evolution. So we started to split the lake, the mirror pool, away from a linear water feature, which would wrap through the business forest to the south of the site. We then looked at how would that impact on movement through the city. The park sits at the heart of the city, between the university and the city centre, and it was felt that the lake would actually cause would potentially provide a barrier, create a barrier to movement. So the idea of generating causeways through the water feature started to emerge, and the shape of the pool started to be defined. At this time, we were also developing the proposals for relocating the magistrates' court. But we realised that the two projects were going to diverge, and it wasn't going to be possible to deliver the full master plan. So then we started to look at how that would be phased, which brings us to the bottom two diagrams, where you can see the sort of evolution of the design as it was conceived to be delivered in two phases, with the city park to the south, the business forest to the south, and then the main mirror pool. And then in the bottom right, you can see the sort of the final design, which pared back the aspirations of the business forest, because the cash wasn't there to deliver it, and we couldn't arrange the relocation of the buildings. And we also had to make some key decisions. We were delivering this in the heart of the economic crisis. Funding, we were unfortunately shortlisted for National Lottery funding, got down to the last 5, but were unsuccessful in securing money. Bradford Council were so keen on delivering the scheme that we took a step back and we said, right, well, what can we deliver for the budget that we've got? So we started to pare back the aspirations. So what we were proposing to the southeast of the City Hall in Norfolk Gardens, we pared that back to a more minimal structure, and we tried to make sure that the quality of the the space that we provided was as high as it could be. And we delivered this. And I'm hugely proud of how it looks. I sweated a lot of nights trying to make sure that the fountains poked up just through the surface of the pool, that the joints in the concrete were right, that the paving worked, that we hid all the gubbins that control the fountains. But I remember just before, it was in December 2012 or 2011, before we opened the park, and it was empty, and it was like this architectural site, quite empty, looks pretty, but actually the success of the scheme isn't about this picture. It was the success of the scheme was going to be about how it was used. And we had the opening in March of 2012, and we were absolutely overwhelmed by the volume of people that came down to the opening. Absolutely incredible. It really proved that whilst the cynics had suggested that the scheme was doomed to fail, that it wouldn't be used, the public and the communities really came out and embraced it. With 10,000 people in the space, more than we'd probably envisaged when we were looking at the overall numbers of our events. Nando's ran out of chicken. Kids were screaming in the pool, running around getting soaked. They sold out of towels in the city centre. But you could see that the people were interacting in the space. They were coming together, enjoying being in the space. And then since that opening, and that was we thought, is that a one-off? The space has been incredibly well used, and it's brought people together. Bradford have been fantastic in organising events, in allowing flexibility in how that space is used, and attracting visitors into the centre to spend time in Bradford, to buy a coffee, to maybe have lunch, to spend longer in the city, to link a visit to the National Museum where we are today with a visit to the city centre. And it started to use it in very creative ways. A number of theatres have used the space and the place to create. And that's really exciting, and not something you can plan on a piece of paper when you're sitting in a room with designers and highway engineers and utility companies telling you that it's not gonna be possible to build it. You're focused on the product and the tangible assets, but actually it's the intangible elements that really make City Park sing, to my mind. And it's used in incredibly different ways. We mapped all the movements through the park, but people still confound you and use the space in odd ways. But that's brilliant, and the flexibility and how the park is governed. They have a policy whereby you can do what you like within the city park, as long as you're not impacting on other people's enjoyment. And I think that really enables people to feel ownership of that park, to feel that it's theirs to use, to play, to be unique, to just spend time, to sit, to dwell, to think. It's a free space, and thankfully the design that came forward sort of created those places, and it is being used, and it is fantastic, and I hope it continues to be used in that way. And it also creates memory. This was my wedding day. So it creates memories for people, personal and community, but it allows you to be individual. So therefore, I'm absolutely hugely proud of it. And I think in reflection, looking about that evolution and the journey of the project, the vision was very bold. It was very grand. Some would say undeliverable. Hopefully, we've proved that wrong, and we've delivered a kernel of the project. But the strands and the ethos behind that master plan were so good and so critical that they really helped to shape the park that we have today. It's different to what was originally envisaged, but it provides flexibility. It provides that place to celebrate. It provides that space to come together, to be a community, and hopefully a place that people will continue to use in years to come. Thank you very much.